Okay, slightly different angle here for this explanation for the triple coincidence. Now this routine is all about numbers, obviously, and it is quite amazing how three sets of numbers all add up to the same number, which is part of the trick. And the kicker, of course, is the prediction which you write at the beginning, which seems to suggest that you knew the special number the whole time. Any beginners out there do not need to do this part if they don't want to, this prediction part. The more advanced guys probably want to add this because it turns what's basically a good mentalism trick into a great mentalism trick. And it sort of even takes away from the idea that you're using that the numbers are somehow it's a mathematical trick, obviously, but this sort of takes the spectator's brains away from the idea that it's mathematical because you predicted this before you started the routine. Just to get this out the way, the advanced intermediate guys will know already probably what we do. I write on this card the special number will be, and then there's a big space. The special number will be big space, because I'm going to write the number in later. But when I'm doing this at the beginning of the routine, I'm saying I'm just going to write a prediction down for later on, and we'll get back to that, and that goes down, and you sort of forget about that. Now we come into that sort of thing about numbers. Now again, to disguise the number, the numbers, the mathematical nature, you always suggest that when they pick a number, they choose perhaps a number that's significant to them, like a date or a birthday of a son or a niece or a grandson or whatever. But that, you know, that doesn't matter. But you do need three pieces of paper. So I've got this notepad here. You could use any sort of business cards or post-it pads or whatever. I'm using these. Now it's obvious that the top part's perforated. But what happens here is I'm going to tear these all into two. Now when I do that, every tear is obviously going to be slightly different, yeah? Okay, but I just exaggerated that one to make the point. But here is the interesting thing. For this to work, you have to place them down like this. So let's put them up. They're all, there's first sheet, second sheet. Watch. First sheet, there, which is going to be the top, the first of the top row and the last of the bottom row, okay? The second sheet, there, which is middle, top and bottom. And the third sheet goes like this. So last top row, first on the bottom row. So it's bang, those two, and those two match. And you can tell they match because of the perforations, like a jigsaw. You can see they match. But they've got to be in this order. Those two, and those two. Okay? Now from the right up you'll see A, B, C, D, E, F. A goes with A, with F there. A, F. That one goes with that one, and that one goes with that one. Clear in the right up. Now, your spectator produces the numbers for the top row. Okay? And we said between 1 and 20. So you say any numbers between 1 and 20. And of course, what you're saying is try and think of somebody, maybe grandchildren or children with ages between them. So they say, I'm trying to remember the numbers we used in the write-up. Did I write them down anywhere? The numbers we used in the write-up were 7, I think. Just give me a second. For the write-up we had, and in the little video, the video isn't the greatest of the performance because that's a friend of mine, and but it's still, you still see it work okay. I can't remember what the numbers he picked were, but in my write-up we have 7, 4, and 13. Okay? 7. So, they've done that randomly, and you say to them, I'm going to fill in these numbers, but I don't want you to think that I've got some predetermined numbers. Again, this is a slight lie. And you say, in fact, I'll use your numbers just to get some more random numbers. But in fact, this is the methodology that enables you to find the numbers which add up to the same triple coincidence. And all you do is say, we'll add the first to the second. I have 7 plus 4 is 11. So we'll write 11 down here, in this position here, on AB and position D. And then you say, we'll add the next one, we'll add the first to the third, which is 7 plus 13, and that is 20, so we'll write 20 here. And then you say, and finally, we'll add the second to your third number, which gives us a total of 17, which we write down here. So you're saying this is a random thing, but it's not, because this is the methodology that enables you to do the trick. So you're saying, so we've just come up with more random numbers here based on your numbers, fine. And the reason why the trick becomes sort of amazing, as well as the prediction at the end, is you now say to the spectator, I want you to turn them all down and then mix them up, so we don't know which is which. Now in the write-up I do say it's best with this trick works best with 3 separate spectators. Because then each spectator picks a number at the beginning, the top row, and then you give each spectator 2 pieces of paper. In the video, it was just one spectator, and he did all 3 things, but that's okay. So this is cool. I mean, these are obviously obvious rips like this one, but the reason you're able to produce the pieces that add up to the same numbers is you're going to match from the rips the papers. So you're going to match the correct papers by like a jigsaw, and because you've laid them out in that certain way, because of the mathematics, each number will be exactly the same. Let me show you what I mean. So you're sort of pretending to do this sort of psychically. You go to one spectator and you say, it's interesting that I think I'll give you these. See these that's an obvious. And you say you can have them too, and then you're going around and you go, I'll tell you what, look, obviously you don't do this in front of them, but that's an obvious. And then you give them 2 to the second spectator, and you take the last 2 and give them 2. And this is where it becomes quite interesting, because you say you pick random numbers, I pick random numbers, which is a bit of a lie, and you say, now spectator 1, would you add your numbers? 17. Now it looks as if you've just, because you can't see the other side, it looks like you've just sort of, using your intuition, you give them certain papers. And you spend a bit of time, you know, oh, you take that one and that one. But the reality is you're just matching up the tears. So 17 and 7 is, well, it's 24. Now, I'm assuming now that they should all be 24. Now, I'm going to backtrack. It's at this stage, before I get to set spectator 2 and 3, that I sneakily write the number 24 in here. But I'll get back to that as a separate sort of explanation. Just let's check these work. These 2, 20 plus 4 is 24, amazing. And these 2, 11 plus 13 is 24. So the 3 spectators, all the numbers add to 24. And it's so cool because it works every time. As long as you place the papers down correctly, and you follow the tears and rips to put them back together again. That's how the trick works. That's amazing in itself. If you just want to do that, that's fine. But here's the cool thing. I know beginners mightn't know about these things, but in mentalism there's something which is very cool. It's called a nail writer, and it fits on the nail, and it's a little bit of lead, and it allows you to write secretly. I have a thumb tip writer, okay, which goes on my thumb, and there's the lead there, and I just casually slip that on during the routine. Because what I do here, let's backtrack. All 3 of them have these face down papers which they don't know the number that's written on. When the first one's added, they don't know that the next one's going to be the same. 17 and 7. I say, oh, that's 24. And then I casually just lift up this card and say, all right, your special number will be, that's interesting. Now, look, I've got no pencil in my hand. The pencil's down here. You've got plenty of misdirection because you're going to ask the second person and third person to add up their numbers. And it's when they're doing that that you casually, with the thumb, just write in 24. Okay? With your thumb. You've got plenty of misdirection. They don't know you've got a pencil in your hand. And I've secretly written down 24 into the prediction with my little thumb tip writer here. Now, as soon as you've done that, that goes face down again. And the spectator later will probably not even remember that you picked it up. And it doesn't matter because you apparently have got nothing in your hand. Haha, thumb tip writer. So, again, this is for the people more experienced. So now you see how this works. Once those three totals have been, wow, the same. Wow, that's amazing. All the papers were face down. You've given them the numbers. You've given them the papers. They add to 24. And then you say, and you know, we wrote a prediction before we started. The special number will be 24. And when they read that, it's suddenly, hang on, but you wrote that down before we wrote down any numbers. So again, just reiterating, this sort of gets away from the idea that it's a mathematical trick. And if you add that to the fact that you're asking them to write the names, the ages of people they know, it takes that again away from the idea that there's a mathematical principle involved here, and it looks like genuine mentalism and prediction. Prediction being a big part of mentalism, because you've written this down before we started. So this is a great trick. This is a really good trick. With this, it makes it that much better. It makes it into a great trick. Obviously, it's the type of thing that you do sort of. Personally, I wouldn't do this professionally unless it was a sort of situation where I was sitting down with this one group for a long time. I certainly would do this socially when I'm just with a group of people that I'm sitting down with for a long time. As you professionals will know, or semi-professionals, a lot of sort of close-up magic. It's like a couple of tricks onto the next audience, a couple of tricks. Tends to be more. We like to be, well, most people like sort of quick tricks really. But there are occasions when you can sit down with a group, and this is one of those occasions for our whole routine. It is very, very strong. I hope you enjoy it.